Coming up on today's show, C.L. Aaron is co-author of the No Bullshit Guide to Ethical Non-Monogamy that came out in 2025, a practical toolkit for ENM from a married couple's lived experience. With backgrounds in law, psychology, and education, C.L. and his wife share unflinching tools for jealousy, boundaries, and ethical traps. Welcome to Loving Without Boundaries, where we hear inspiring stories, share actionable advice, and talk about the challenges and the joys of ethical non-monogamy and polyamory. I'm your host, Kitty Chambliss. Welcome back to Loving Without Boundaries, where I am here with C.L. Aaron, who is a co-author alongside DJ Aaron of the brand new book, The No Bullshit Guide to Ethical Non-Monogamy. So, Claren, I'm very excited to be here, and thank you so much for taking time out of your busy schedule to have a conversation with me today.
Thank you for having me.
Absolutely. So I'd love it if you could just introduce yourself to our listeners in your own words.
I'm CL, and then my wife is DJ, and we have been married for about 15 years. And we have a history in law and with psychology and with education. So actually, my wife is teaching a class right now, so she is not going to be able to join us, which is sad because she's adorable and I love her. But I have a long history in all sorts of weird things, but I like to kind of understand the mind, and it's just something I've always, I study psychology. Law was not the greatest. Law was more of a two systems fighting out and not really about finding common ground or like finding truth, as you would say. It was about winning. So I did not like that. So I did not last too long in that.
Thank you for that explanation of why pursuing law was not really in alignment with who you are. That makes a whole lot of sense to me, given that a lot of the work that I do is around repair and creating win-win-win situations for everybody. So that totally makes sense to me. So I'd love it if I can ask you a little bit about your background, if that's okay.
Okay.
Yeah. So, and feel free to bring that over into when you eventually got married in a way that feels good to you. But I'd love to just ask a little bit about, like, when you think about growing up in your life, was there a particular moment or maybe more than one moment where you realized that, say, coloring inside of the lines of heteronormative monogamy just wasn't maybe going to work out for you, or maybe you were just a little bit different than maybe some of your friends or people that you knew? I'd love it if you could share a little bit about that.
So it was something I never even really thought about. So like I had no idea that like would ever do something like that. It was within our marriage when my wife brought it up that it was kind of out of nowhere. I was like, I've never even really thought about this as an option. So it definitely is something that hit me hard. And I don't know, a lot of people at that time were like, well, if you're not totally into it and she's into it, then it's never going to work out. And I don't believe that. It doesn't matter how you get into it. It still might work and be the right thing for you.
Thank you for sharing that. So from what you're saying, just to make sure I heard you correctly, so it was never on your mind to practice a different relationship structure other than monogamy until your wife brought it up. Did I hear you correctly?
Yes.
Yeah. And I'm curious, how long were you married at that time?
We were married 15 years.
Oh, when she brought it up?
Yep.
Oh, wow. Okay, so that's pretty recent then.
Yeah, it's COVID did it.
Oh, okay.
I blame COVID for most things.
That's valid. Yeah, I can tell you my online private Facebook group exploded during COVID. We went from, say, 2,000 members to 8,000 members in like less than a year. It was unbelievable.
Yeah,
so
it was crazy
tracks.
time. Everybody
really
was
was.
stuck in the same house together. We had a couple that we hung out with that we were kind of in, what's that called? A dome or whatever. Like we were around
a bubble, yeah.
Yeah, we were in a bubble. And then that kind of led to other stuff.
I see. I see. And I'm curious if I may ask, just so I kind of get a sense of your life and how different people may be impacted by different ways that you structure your marriage and your relationship. Do you and DJ have children?
Yes, we have 3 children.
And maybe that'll come up more in conversation as we go, but I appreciate just understanding that spectrum as well.
Yeah,
So when,
it adds
oh,
a
go ahead.
whole different layer onto stuff, like because your all of your decisions and what you say affects your kids a lot. So it's definitely something about the anonymity thing that has to do with that as well.
Yeah, and that makes sense. I definitely appreciate that, especially if they're younger, which they're not close to adulthood. That totally makes sense. And what would you say, like, what was maybe your first reaction when your wife brought this to your attention during COVID when she first brought this up?
It was devastating. I was like, oh, okay, so you don't love me. Like, I didn't say these things. I just thought she doesn't love me. Everything's been fake. And I guess we're going to get divorced. That was the honest first impression of it.
Wow, yeah, and I really appreciate your vulnerability in that. And I did read your chapter on that in your book, which is, I think it was titled "What If This Isn't Your Idea?" Or I forget the exact
Yeah.
title, but
Yeah, that was a hard chapter to write.
yeah,
It was
yeah,
very
and
personal. So,
mm-hmm. Yeah, and it was very raw and real and authentic. And I definitely, speak to and work with folks where they're on the receiving end of that. And sometimes in a situation like yours, where everything did work out fine, but that doesn't take away the pain of that first revelation. Yeah.
yeah, it was awful. I spent like a month crying. I would be like driving the kids to school and I just start like sobbing and
Oh,
stuff. Or at Costco, I mean, yeah, going through checkout and just bawling. People are like, "Are you okay?"
yeah. Oh, wow. I'm curious, how did you handle that with your children at the time?
With our children, we tried to be honest, but also make sure they felt secure. And it was just mom and dad are going through some things and we're trying to figure stuff out. Dad's real sad right now.
Mm-hmm. And they seem to understand that.
Yeah.
So I'm curious. So once you got past that initial shock and some of the sadness and maybe loss and grief that you were experiencing, tell me what happened next. How did you two navigate that?
How did we get through that? That was a hard time. No, it was a lot of communicating and being honest and putting importance on our relationship with all of our history and everything, like realizing, the concessions we made, of the joy we've had together, and not wanting to lose that and giving that importance. So, the NRE, new relationship energy, it can really destroy things, especially if you haven't dated in 17 years and you kind of this new feeling again. You're like young and it can make you kind of do dumb things.
So that brings me to my next question, which is from the time that your wife initially brought it up, how soon was it before one of you, I'm presuming maybe your wife first, did start dating?
So she fell in love with somebody. That's one of the reasons why it even came up. Is she's like, uh-oh, I'm having feelings for somebody else. What does this mean? And then she heard about a friend who was like, polyamory is just the answer. You can have your normal life, everything's great, and you can have a boyfriend. It's kind of naive. And that guy did not work out. He was lying about a bunch of stuff, which you'll find happen in life. And like when you're just back in the scene, you can be very naive. Like I have to warn people about like, no, it feels real good for a guy to compliment you and stuff, but he's trying to impress you. Like just keep that in mind. Like you forget these things.
Mm. Yeah, that's true. When you've been out of the dating scene for a while, that totally resonates with me and some of the things that I read about in your book as well. So, what would you say? Oh, go ahead.
Oh, I was trying to remember what we were even talking about. Oh, how long it took for us to do stuff. Okay, so it was after a couple months. We just kind of went head first. I was like, okay, if we're gonna do this, let's do it. And it's like more even thinking between like the time that like if I would think and I'd be like, oh no, this is all gonna end horribly. I was like, okay, let's go do it, and then I'll see how horrible it is because in my mind I've already made it the worst thing that could ever happen. So we went to a house party, and after that, we got invited to all sorts of stuff, and we joined a bunch of groups. Our first house party, we were driving by, and my wife's like, maybe we shouldn't go in. And I was like, let's just do it. And we had lots of fun. We met a lot of people. At that time, I would say we were almost lifestyle adjacent, is what I call it. So it's where you enjoy being around people who aren't so uptight, especially growing up very religious. Like it was like so nice to not have to apologize for everything you say.
Right. So, and but you weren't maybe fully participating, but
Well,
but you go ahead.
we went slow. My wife, like that night, she kissed a guy, and that was kind of yeah, that was new. So, yeah, it was very new. I wasn't so excited about it, but in the end, I found out actually it's something that kind of I like seeing her. I have kind of compersion, but like it turns me on.
So it sounds like that first experience was had, some nuance and challenges, yet there was also a part of it that maybe felt a little bit exciting.
Yeah, so it was some mixed feelings, but I was like, oh, this is not the worst. Like this is good. This is fun.
So as you started to move along that path, what would you say were some of the biggest challenges that you and your wife experienced? And at that time, how did you overcome those?
So we would have talks before and after every party. When we first started, we did lots of parties. You know, there were like three a week. Like we just jumped in. Our second party is kind of funny because we got invited and we showed up and it was an orgy.
Oh, wow.
Like I've never been like there was like this is the blowjob corner, here's the fuck corner, here's this, and just everybody, like just it's like what you see in a movie. And we had no idea. We sat on the side, just kind of like, I'm not quite ready for this. But we actually met some great people there. But one guy, it was interesting. He came and sat by us, and he's like, guys, don't worry. One day you'll be able to fuck everybody. And I was like, I don't think I want to. And it was kind of hilarious because I was like, that's when we're like, okay, we're going to decide what we want to do and stuff. Just because we're at a party doesn't mean we have to like have sex with everybody.
Right, right. Yeah. I'm curious, I didn't ask this yet, but may I ask what area of the country or the world that you and your wife live?
We're on the middle west coast around Vegas.
Oh, okay. Okay. Yeah, we're just curious because that's impressive having three parties a week and one's a full blown orgy. So I was just curious
Oh,
where in the world you were. So
oh, right now, like there's so many clubs and groups around me. It's kind of crazy. Like just the community's huge.
hmm yeah. Yeah, and it used to be considered extremely underground, and I'm sure a lot of it still is, but not maybe as much as it.
Yeah, nowadays you'll find clubs and stuff like that that are pretty open about it. If they make you have to join a religion to go to the club, then that's legit.
Wow. And so I'm curious. So before we start transitioning over to talking about your book, which I'm excited to talk about, where would you even just briefly say you and your wife are on your journey, like your current reality?
So right now we're mostly focusing on the kids, so that's kind of taken precedence. Uh, One of our kids found out about the lifestyle, but not in the best way, and so we haven't really been having parties all the time at our house. We haven't really done much since then. We're kind of in making him feel secure and explaining things, which can take a while. So, but we still go out and do stuff.
Okay. So you might attend some lifestyle events, but you're not kind
Yeah.
of in the thick of it in your own space, your own
Yeah.
kind of pad,
It's
I
kind
see.
of separate. It's more clubs and stuff. Like every weekend, usually, Friday, Saturday, club nights.
So it sounds like for you and your wife, you're more not instead of being lifestyle adjacent, now you're in the lifestyle, but you're not necessarily like have full blown other partners. Like you're not necessarily practicing polyamory in your case.
We are open to doing that right now. We were in a polycule and some stuff went south. And so right now we're just recovering from that too. I think it's good to not just rush into something else.
Hmm. Yeah. Yeah. I totally can definitely align with that as well. I actually got out of a very long term poly relationship earlier this year. And I definitely took some time to myself just to heal and reflect and just make sure my husband and I were okay. So I totally can appreciate that as well. So I'd love to transition over to your book, The No Bullshit Guide to Ethical Non-Monogamy, which either is coming out this year. When is it officially released? If it has,
So it's had a soft launching. Like we haven't really done any push of it or anything, but it came out like a month ago.
that's exciting. And I'm curious then, so since it's only been a few years really since COVID, like when did you and your wife decide, like you had that light bulb moment about my gosh, we need to write a book on this?
So I'm neurodivergent. And so I always look at stuff kind of like analyzing it almost from outside. And I'd be like, well, what are the rules here? This doesn't make sense. These don't add up. And throughout the whole thing, I've been like writing down like, oh, this is a rule for this, or even if someone offers you drugs at a party, like they might not be having permission to do that, even if they know the host more than you. Just all these random things. And I know it's just been writing stuff down. I've been writing it like full time, like the last year, like just going through everything over and over again, analyzing it, making sure I don't say something too stupid, and just really trying to ground it in science. Like in the back of the book, you'll see a bunch of references and sources. And I really like to tend towards like the scientific sources.
Yeah, so it sounds like you've been just doing a lot of your own personal research and aligning that with data and science behind that. That's
Y-
amazing. So
yes.
was it first your idea then to write the book?
Yeah, I think because I was like, honey, I'm really tired of hearing things at parties and stuff that just isn't true. And also, this last year, we've lost a bunch of people. There's rampant issues with suicide right now. And so a lot of people who are like, everything's great in the lifestyle, and then all of a sudden they're gone.
Wow,
And
I'm so sorry for your
yeah,
loss.
so it's just kind of like, what's wrong? Like, what are we not being honest about?
Wow, that's huge. And I know you may not know what was going on specifically for those folks that you've lost in that way. So it sounds like maybe your book is also meant to maybe offer hope, or I guess I'll just ask you, like, who do you think this book is for?
So I mean, in the title, it's like for the curious, the cautious, and the currently in it. It is, I don't know, for someone starting out or actually someone in it who doesn't have like clear rules or know what the community's like. Like when you start the lifestyle, like we didn't even know what words meant. Like there's so many different words and things of explaining things, and things mean different things to everybody. One of the most confusing words at the very beginning was lifestyle, because you'll talk to people and means something so different to everybody. It's just like I found like the down pineapple. Like it means different things to different people. Like if older crowd around me, like it does not mean swinging, but in other crowds it just means swinging. And so all those things have had to turn into, oh, let's have a conversation about if someone says their lifestyle, let's talk about it. What does that mean for you? Because it's so different. Um, I think that is one of the big things is about coming up with a shared language or, meaning of things that can be used and is useful. Not to box yourself in, but to actually open you up and let you share stuff. But I do want to make this one point. As when you first start off, people will be like, "Oh, okay, what's your dynamic? What are you? Are you asexual, gray sexual, or do you have like kitchen table polyamory, all this stuff?" They'll go through that. And then people will just name it all out. Be like, "Oh, I'm bi-curious, da da da." And the thing is, those things all apply to each person differently. So, like wearing a armband at a party that's like green or like red or purple, that's a start of a conversation. It's never like, oh, you have a green tag on, so now we're going to have sex. That's one thing is everything needs to be, it's down to the individual.
Hmm. Yeah. Yeah. And I appreciate you highlighting that as well. And I love the title too, the No Bullshit Guide to Ethical Non-Monogamy. I'm curious what prompted you and your wife to put the no bullshit in the title, maybe in contrast to, other books that are out there around ethical non-monogamy or polyamory.
I think I think the no bullshit has to do with oversimplifying things, which is kind of strange. People are like, so you're just going to give me all this stuff. But the no bullshit is like, hey, it's complicated and there's no like one answer. And I really don't like that when someone's like, okay, if you have a problem with a unicorn or something like that, then, oh, just date separate. Like that's the only answer or things like that. Like it's there's so many layers that the bullshit is saying, hey, it's all this way and this is the right way.
Yeah, and I love the way your book reads as well. It's just very down to earth. Not a lot of like psychotherapy babble or jargon. It is very relatable and easy to understand. So that's also the way I would describe it from what I read there. And you mentioned, of course, earlier about that you and your wife have a lawyer and a psychology and as well as an education background. So I'm curious, why would you say that you and your wife were the two most perfect people or most awesome people to write this particular guide for ethical non-monogamy?
It's basically what we wish we had had when we started. A lot of different books out there and stuff kind of phrased it in ways that I did not like. Like a lot of the stuff, like free love, everything's great, you can do whatever you want. That stuff really bothered me. So, and also being neurodivergent, I overanalyze everything. So, and also we've made lots of mistakes. So we've learned a lot. And it's like someone else could do better, but we're going to do something. So we're going to try and put something out there and hopefully people can learn from our mistakes.
Yeah, yeah. And again, I would just want to honor your vulnerability and just telling it like it is from your perspective. And it's very relatable what you're saying. I mean, so many of us have made a lot of mistakes, and you and your wife went the next step by paying it forward, by gathering everything that you learned and putting it in this robust book. I mean, it's over 300 pages. It's pretty amazing.
Yeah. It was really hard to write. Like we had to talk to each other and go into all the deep crevices of everything, and make sure like we were on the same page on what we were writing. And we really went through all sorts of almost therapy, just thinking, going through like what has happened and what we want.
Yeah, well, I appreciate all the hard and diligent work that you and your wife have done. So I'd love to just ask some different questions based on some of what I've read or your perspective, or even just some of the chapter titles that can give folks just a really interesting view of the book. And I guess maybe before I do that, you've touched on it maybe a little bit, but anything else you might want to add about how you believe that your book, The No Bullshit Guide to Ethical Non-Monogamy, might be different than other E&M or polyamory focused books out there that you haven't shared already. I know you said earlier that some of those feel very free love, everything's going to be great, but anything else of how you think your book is different to help folks who are listening?
It is extremely researched and based on science. I mean, we had persons whose whole job was to get rid of any pop psychology or anything that's not based in like science. So, I mean, that was something real important to us is to not have some like just, I don't know, just some saying that's over promising and not unique enough for people.
And so I'd love it if this has been a different controversy I've heard, the term E&M for ethical non-monogamy versus C&M for consensual non-monogamy. I read this part in the book, but for our listeners, how would you distinguish between the two?
I'm sure it's written a lot better than this, but it's the basics are that the ground floor is consensual. Like that is like no questions, nothing about that. Now, ethical, I think, is a step above that. I know that some people are like, well, why do you have to say ethical? Because you're saying like monogamous relationships are ethical. And I'm like, no, I'm not saying that. Most monogamous relationships aren't ethical. It's just for E&M, I think the ethical part is extremely important because I've seen a lot of very unethical behavior in non-monogamy. So one thing is like in polyamory or in swinging and stuff, you can still cheat. So like I've known people who they're cheating because they're lying to people and saying their relationships aren't with other people or that's not real or gaslighting. Like that's still cheating. I don't care if you're in the lifestyle. Lying is still that leads to something that's cheating. That's what I think is when you're lying to your partner about relationships or what you're doing, then that is when a big issue comes up.
Yeah, and I guess one distinction is one could argue that that could still be non-consensual if you're not being honest. But what I remembered from your book was also adding in that ethical is also respectful and really honoring that other people have their own feelings and their own needs as well. So just does that resonate with you or how would you
Yes.
just, yeah. Mm-hmm.
Like ethical is, yeah, it's where other people, I don't know, you imagine yourself in their shoes. You have empathy.
Yeah. Treating everybody as a whole human, all the
Yeah.
different parties, not just kind of steamrolling them with your couple privilege, for example.
Yes. So there's a lot in that in the book about basically even like, or a unicorn or something like that, valuing them as a human being, or where you're not dismissing people and just as when you have like an anchor partner, sometimes you kind of use use people for certain things and then ignore them. That's a tendency, but it's actually valuing them and showing that your appreciation of them as a whole human being.
So some of the things I'll just pull out and just have you maybe talk about them for a minute or two. And some of them are chapters I did not yet get to read, but I'm excited to. So I'm curious about chapter 8 with the title "The Unfuckable Conversation." I'm curious about that. If you would touch on that.
Okay, so with unfuckable conversation, it's basically how we communicate, where it's like where you're giving data and you're analyzing it and then you are asking. And it's just basically having a ground, like something to hold on to while you're having a conversation and the steps. So sometimes when you just start talking about stuff without any like rules or anything like that, things can kind of go off the rails. And it's good to have something that grounds you. And it's like, oh, now what am I going to do now? This is where I'm going to ask for something. Let me not do this in a manipulative way. It's real important, I think, to have something like that, that even looking at the chapter as you're talking can be helpful.
So staying kind of grounded in
Yeah.
the, it's almost maybe being unshakable in a way.
Yeah. It's, it's like a checklist, those are helpful.
Another one, I've heard different thoughts on this concept, but I'd love to hear yours. Chapter 13 that talks about when agreements are broken and how to handle that. So I'd love to hear your thoughts on that from the book.
So one thing is that agreements are at different levels. I like every boundary broken or things like that. They're not all the same. And I don't want to say they all are. Sometimes people are like, oh, he lied to you about this one thing. So, oh, he's a piece of crap. And so you should just move on. Or, not taking into account that, like, I think the most important thing is whether people will change and take in info. Like, that is the most important thing, more than even so much of what happened. A lot of times people will do stuff just out of ignorance or not knowing things. I've done things like that. We had a issue with one of our couples we were with because literally we had different definitions of sex. Like, we didn't go into the minutia, and they're like, well, you had sex with this couple last night, and I'm like, no, we did not, because like, according to my wife's and my definition, that wasn't sex. So that's one important thing, is when you're with people, is to actually define, like, okay, is oral sex sex, or is this type sex, or is this okay? It's kind of like the most mundane things have to be spelled out, kind of, because everybody thinks different things.
And I'm curious about one of your chapters here, community, belonging, and other bullshit. So I'm curious, what are some of the things that you discuss there, and or some of your thoughts on that?
Community is really important. We're social beings, so I like to show that. But the thing is, some of the stuff that you find in other communities, you'll find in poly or lifestyle communities. You'll hear a lot of things that aren't true, or something like, oh, I love this community, everything's great. Oh, I don't know where I'd be without it. This saved my marriage. All these things, and then they get divorced, or they, like, not that divorce is the worst thing. That's one thing. Is in the book we talk about how longevity is not the goal, and how society kind of puts this premium on longevity, not like what you get out of it, or your happiness, or things like that.
And I did read both the chapters, 34 on common ethical traps, as well as 35 coercive control. And I'll just pull out a couple excerpts from that and you can expand on it. But in the common ethical traps, I love where you both shared the antidote is a commitment to radical self-awareness, clear communication, and uncompromising accountability. Love that. Just very succinct and clear.
Mm-hmm.
And also where you shared recognizing you've fallen into a trap doesn't make your relationship a failure. It makes you a normal person with the knowledge and the opportunity to repair. Just really love that. So anything else you wanted to expand on from that chapter around some of the common ethical traps?
Yeah, I think one thing is, when you fall into a trap, we all do, and we all make mistakes. And it's not to undervalue those mistakes or say, oh, that didn't mean anything, it was just an accident. It's, we can learn from those, and it's important to not let those bring us down. Because I know people who are like, oh, I made a mistake, I'm a bad person. Or someone's like, this person I'm dating, they made this mistake, or we fell down this trap. So there's no point in trying anything, like, oh, it's broken. There's this thing of saying, like, of discarding people over like one mistake or things like that. When I think the big mistake is when they don't improve or learn from those things.
Right, right. Yeah, and I can definitely appreciate that. And I've definitely even seen that in my own life is something happens, you have a conversation, you can talk about how to repair it, yet we can't control the other person. So if they're not really willing to change anything, you've at least, you can feel good from your own consciousness level that you brought it to their attention. And then I often say, just gather the data about what happens next. And then you can make an educated and more informed decision about how to move forward. So
Yeah,
really
some
appreciate what
some
you.
of the most beautiful things I've seen in the lifestyle are letting someone know, oh, I think that made me uncomfortable or something like that, and them truly like being like, I am so sorry. I'm going to learn from that, and can I do anything or whatever? Like those, that's beautiful, I think.
Yeah, 100%. 100%. I appreciate also in the book how you talk about how to repair and how it incorporates a heartfelt apology. Really awesome. And then in your chapter 35, Coercive Control, I'm a huge fan of Susan Forward's work. So I was delighted to see that you mentioned fog there, which is when somebody's using fear, obligation, or guilt to as in an attempt to control other people. And I love how you also shared from a somatic place, your body knows your nervous system cannot be gaslit if you consistently feel anxious, confused, or afraid around a person. You are not safe. I thought that was really wise. Anything else you'd like to add there around that topic of coercive control?
It's sadly something I see all the time, and sometimes people don't even know they're doing it. And it's real important just to be able to look at it and even look at yourself and say, when am I doing this? Because we all do it some, and like we need to acknowledge that and not be like, oh, I don't know, like admitting, being honest with yourself. And when you see it out there, then, make sure you look inward as well.
Yeah, yeah, I appreciate that. Just it's not like we need to label people as good or bad, and just remember that we all can have behaviors that maybe we can improve upon. Yeah.
Yes. But then also I had to want to make it clear like these certain things are not appropriate ever. So it's kind of having that grace and then also still being firm on certain things.
And then I'm curious, chapter 37, the title is the quote unquote good enough polycule. I'd love it if you could expand a little bit on that.
So this has actually kind of a very personal one, is that it's about saying, hey, this isn't perfect, but we're going to work through it and we're going to have fun, enjoy life, and everything's not perfect. I mean, it's just like with any relationship. Like, it's always trade-offs and everything. And it's like, oh, this is good enough. It's never perfect. But also just knowing that, like, I don't know, it's like choosing something, even knowing it's not perfect and not being in an idealized world saying, oh, this is how it should be. Okay, we're broken because of this or something like that. It's like learning, progressing together. And as polycules and stuff, that can be beautiful, I think.
And then, in terms of writing the book alongside your wife, what would you say is maybe the most rewarding part of that process and the most challenging part of writing the No Bullshit Guide to Ethical Non-Monogamy?
One thing is that it lets you see a lot of bullshit and get it there. So you need to not think about that constantly when you're at a party or analyzing, like, what are they doing? What are their intentions? Like, kind of not going too crazy in my head. That's one thing I've tried to avoid. It really has helped my wife and I communicate and get on the same page. During writing, like we even met up with some people and apologized for certain things that like we didn't even realize were wrong at that time. Like just taking accountability for those things. Yeah, I mean that's the best thing is we've gotten on the same page. We can talk about stuff. I feel more secure in things, but also one of the great things about this has been before when I was married, it was just like a given. I was like, no matter what, we're going to be together. Everything's, whatever. I don't have to try that hard. Like I thought that. I didn't say that, but um, the thing is, when you're with somebody and they're choosing now every day to be with you and they could leave, like you work a lot harder and like it's a lot more fulfilling because when they give you love, it's not like, oh, well, they're just married to me. They have to do this. It's like, no, they're choosing me. They could do other stuff.
Is there any message you'd like to leave our listeners with, or any question that I didn't ask you that you'd like to answer or share with our listeners here?
I think it is important. Number one, if you are suicidal or anything, please reach out to somebody. Don't let if your ideas are different than other people's, make that you feel like broken or wrong. If you don't have compersion, then don't feel like you're broken. That's just very natural. I mean, like we have a chapter on that, but it's don't feel broken. And if someone's giving you an ideal, don't feel like you have to be that ideal, be perfect. Make agreements that can survive when you're having a bad day. Don't make agreements and rules based off of being perfect people.
That was beautiful. I'm really glad I asked that, because that was a great way to wind up the conversation. So I'll just end by just sharing just a little write-up about your book. So the No Bullshit Guide to Ethical Non-Monogamy is a grounded, practical guide to love beyond monogamy. Drawing on law, psychology, and lived experience, it replaces outdated scripts with real tools for honesty, boundaries, and repair. So thank you again for just taking time out of your day to speak with me. I really enjoyed our conversation. And where can people find your book, maybe reach out to you, or at least find some of your work?
So the book is on Amazon. It's on the Kindle, and you can order print. And also it's on Audible now. So that was the process. That's when you're like, oh, I have to put money into this.
To find somebody did you have somebody read it for you?
Yeah, and do all the editing and all that. And yeah, also Claren.com. Claren, C-L Aaron.
Okay, with two A's.
Yeah, yeah. And also, we'll be on socials and stuff, but like literally, we were so wiped out from writing this that we've just been recovering from that.
Yeah, that makes sense. Well, thank you again so much for your time. Please thank your wife on behalf of myself and Loving Without Boundaries for the work that you both did in putting this work together. I don't think we can have too many tools and books and resources out there. So I appreciate the time and the energy that you both took to create this.
Thank you so much. I really appreciate it.
Thanks for tuning in to today's show. If you like what you heard, are struggling with some aspect of your relationships, and you're interested in seeing if you're a fit to work with me as your relationship coach, here's what I invite you to do next. Head over to lovingwithoutboundaries.com/apply. That's lovingwithoutboundaries.com/apply, and book a call to speak with me. I'll get on the phone with you for about 45 minutes, and we'll get you crystal clear on 3 things. Number 1, exactly what's not working well in your relationships right now. Number 2, ideally where you'd like to be and what might be getting in the way. And number 3, the exact strategy to get you there, helping to close that gap. Remember, creating healthy, open relationships does not typically happen by itself. Many often need expert guidance to make it happen. We've helped clients all over the world to feel safe, happy, and secure in open relationships while not losing their mind or their cherished partners. To see if we can help you do the same, head over to lovingwithoutboundaries.com/apply. I'm Kitty Chambliss, and let's talk soon.